President Sisi congratulates Canada's Governor-General on Canada Day and sends greetings to Embassy in Cairo. Egypt's foreign minister discusses Gaza and regional peace with French counterpart, reaffirming two-state solution. And Egypt's planning minister warns of setbacks to global development goals at conference in Spain. Egypt's president has congratulated Canada's Governor-General on Canada Day and sent official greetings to the embassy in Cairo. President Abdel Fattah Sisi sent a congratulatory cable to Governor-General Mary May Simon on the occasion of Canada Day celebrations. The president also delegated Presidential Secretary-General Mohammed Adel Mukhtar to visit the Canadian embassy in Cairo to convey Egypt's official greetings. Egypt and Canada maintain close diplomatic ties with cooperation across education, trade, and cultural exchange. Egypt's foreign minister discussed Gaza and regional peace efforts with its French counterpart, reaffirming support for a two-state solution. Foreign Minister Badr Abdel held talks with the French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot on regional developments and ways to strengthen their strategic partnership. Abdel reviewed the situation in Gaza, highlighting efforts to maintain a ceasefire and ensure humanitarian aid reaches civilians. He also stressed the need for a just resolution to the Palestinian issue through a two-state solution and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Moreover, Egypt's foreign minister discussed Syria's political and security situation with its Syrian counterpart, stressing support for a Syrian-led process. Foreign Minister Badr Abdel held a phone call with the Syrian foreign minister Assad al-Shibini to discuss the latest political, economic, and security developments in Syria. Abdel reaffirmed Egypt's support for launching a comprehensive political process owned and led by Syrians without foreign interference. He stressed that such a process must safeguard Syria's unity and stability and include all national forces in an inclusive framework. Egypt's foreign minister discussed Gaza and regional tensions with UN Chief Antonio Guterres, urging an immediate ceasefire. Foreign Minister Badr Abdel held a phone call with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres to discuss rapidly evolving regional developments. Ministry spokesperson Tamim Khalaf said Abdel reaffirmed Egypt's firm stance, calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza on the release of hostages and detainees. Both sides reviewed Egypt's ongoing intensive contacts with all parties to swiftly achieve a truce and support humanitarian efforts in the Strip. Egypt's foreign minister congratulated Denmark on assuming the EU presidency and highlighted growing ties between Cairo and Copenhagen. Foreign Minister Badr Abdel spoke with the Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen to congratulate Denmark on its new role as rotating president of the European Union. Abdel praised the strong ties between Egypt and Denmark, underscored by President Sisi's visit to Denmark in December 2024, which elevated relations to a strategic. He also stressed Egypt's commitment to advancing cooperation in trade, investment, and through the Egyptian-Danish Business Council. Egypt's foreign minister reaffirmed Cairo's strong support for Somalia's security and stability. Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati reiterated Egypt's unwavering support for Somalia's security, stability, unity and territorial integrity during an African Union Peace and Security Council virtual ministerial session. He praised the Somali government's efforts to restore security, strengthen governance and build state institutions. Abdulati also voiced concerns over ongoing threats from terrorist groups, particularly Al-Shabaab, and stressed the need for a smooth, coordinated transition from the Artemis mission to the OSA mission to preserve hard-won security gains and avoid potential security gaps. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati held talks with U.S. Presidential Envoy for the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, to discuss developments related to the ceasefire in Gaza. The call included an exchange of views on the latest efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza in light of the intensive communications currently underway by Egypt and Qatar. Minister Abdulati emphasized the urgent need to resume the ceasefire in Gaza and ensure an unimpeded delivery of humanitarian relief and medical aid. Egypt's planning minister warned of setbacks to global development goals during a major conference in Spain. Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation, Rania Mashat, addressed a multilateral roundtable on revitalizing international development cooperation at the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Spain. Mashat said global progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals is declining sharply due to rising geopolitical tensions and multiple overlapping crises. She stressed that these challenges have triggered successive negative impacts, hindering collective efforts for sustainable development. Egypt reaffirmed support for development in Nile Basin countries and encouraged private sector investment. Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati and Water Resources and Irrigation Minister Hani Swilam emphasized Egypt's commitment to advancing development across the Nile Basin countries. They highlighted efforts to encourage the Egyptian private sector to invest and build on the presence of existing companies operating in these states. The ministers noted that Egypt supports implementing development projects, including dams in the southern Nile Basin, provided they align with international law and regional cooperation frameworks. Egypt's foreign minister stressed aligning foreign policy with economic goals to boost Egypt's global standing. Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati met with the Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, Hassan al-Khatib, to discuss advancing Egypt's economic and development agenda. Abdulati emphasized the importance of integrating foreign policy with economic strategy to enhance Egypt's regional and international stature. He also praised the ongoing cooperation between both ministries in supporting national objectives and attracting more investment. Belarus's ambassador praised strong political dialogue with Egypt and called for further momentum. The Belarusian president to Cairo, Sergei Tarantayev, highlighted the strength of the political dialogue between Belarus and Egypt, describing it as a foundation of bilateral ties. He credited the good personal contacts and mutual trust between both leaders for his close relationship. Tarantayev urged maintaining this momentum, welcoming upcoming Egyptian delegations to Belarus, including for the 8th session of the Joint Commission scheduled in Minsk. Egypt's ambassador to Belgium discussed boosting bilateral ties and parliamentary cooperation during a meeting in Brussels. Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zaid met with Vincent Blondel, president of the Belgian Senate, to discuss strengthening the distinguished relations between Egypt and Belgium and enhancing parliamentary cooperation. Abu Zaid briefed Blondel on Egypt's ongoing development efforts and preparations for upcoming parliamentary elections. He also shared Egypt's vision on the Middle East issues, expressing appreciation for Belgium's supportive positions on Palestinian rights and the respect for international law. Blondel affirmed Belgium's pride in its long-standing ties with Egypt and expressed interest in working closely to advance bilateral relations. Egypt's Prime Minister ordered improved government response to citizen complaints, prioritizing health and goods availability. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli instructed officials to enhance the unified government complaint system to better receive, monitor, and rapidly address citizens' concerns. Madbouli stressed giving top priority to complaints related to the health sector and ensuring that essential goods remain sufficiently available. The directive aims to strengthen public trust and improve service delivery across critical sectors. The National Election Authority has announced the closure of the voters' database for the upcoming Senate elections scheduled to be held inside Egypt on August 4th and 5th. The number of citizens eligible to vote in the Senate elections is estimated at around 68 million, an increase of approximately 1 million voters compared to the last presidential election, where the number of eligible voters exceeded 67 million. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a meeting with the Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Karim Badawi, to review the latest updates on the progress of preparing and connecting the floating regasification units to the national natural gas grid. During the meeting, the Petroleum Minister presented the status of work related to equipping and linking the floating regasification units through Egyptian ports to the national gas network. He emphasized the concerted efforts of all relevant entities and national companies to complete the work according to the planned timelines, ensuring the security and sustainability of natural gas supplies to both production and consumption sectors across the country. Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Sharif Fathi held discussions with a leading global company specializing in the construction, operation and management of river and sea cruise ships to explore potential cooperation in developing the Nile cruise tourism product in Egypt. The minister emphasized the importance of Chinese markets for Egyptian tourism, citing the significant increase in the number of Chinese tourists visiting Egypt last year, and expressed the ministry's hopes for continued growth in the coming period. He invited the company to submit a detailed study outlining its vision and implementation plan for enhancing Nile cruise tourism in Egypt, with a view of reviewing it by the ministry. British international investment has pledged over $300 million to boost Egypt's renewable energy capacity by 2030. The funding supports two major projects: the 1.1 gigawatt Gulf of Suez wind farm, set to become Africa's largest onshore wind project, and Egypt's first large-scale solar and battery storage system, with Norwegian partner Scatec. Together, these will add over 2 gigawatts of clean energy, cut millions of tons of emissions, and create thousands of jobs. BII's total investment in Egypt now tops $700 million. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here's what we've been covering. President Sisi congratulates Canada's Governor General on Canada Day, sends greetings to embassy in Cairo. Egypt's foreign minister discusses Gaza and regional peace with French counterpart, reaffirms two-state solution. And Egypt's planning minister warns of setbacks to global development goals at conference in Spain. That's all for now. Remember to stay updated by following Qnews for the latest developments.